Hey friends, I'm Allie and today I am doing the theater tag. I know, I'm so original and creative, stop. No, but really I thought this would be a cool tag because it would be a cool way to continue to introduce myself to y'all and to share a little bit about my background and interests in theater. I've seen a few different YouTubers do this, and so I took questions and I kind of compiled them into this one thing. Also, I have these letters that I made. Ooh, let's turn them on. Just marquee letters that a lot of people have now. I kind of have them stacked up right now like a monogram. If you want to know how I made these videos, If you want to know how I made these letters, give this video a thumbs up. Number 1, when did you first get into theater? Started getting involved in singing and different things like that when I was young, especially in church. I was in my choir. Every year our music director would put on shows that the kids would be involved in. When I was a little older, I got to see the tours of Beauty and the Beast and Phantom of the Opera when they came through Tampa. And then I decided to take a drama class in high school, and I guess the rest is history. Number 2, first musical you ever saw. I guess Beauty and the Beast, which was perfect because I loved the movie so much that seeing it live was like awesome, and the magic and the special effects and everything was really, really cool. Enchanting, if you will. Favorite musical growing up? Grease 2, and don't hate, because just don't. There were some VHS copies of Grease and Grease 2 that I watched a lot when I was young. I actually really liked Grease 2 a lot, and I know that people hate on it now, and like I get why, I guess, but I liked it. How many shows have you been in? Okay. I actually counted this. When I was a freshman in college, it was recommended by one of my professors that I make a list of everything that I've ever been a part of. So not just roles that you've been cast in, but any sort of technical involvement. This professor recommended that I write it all down on this big master list, just so I always have it for reference. So at that point it was easy for me to remember all my high school stuff because it had just recently happened. From that point on, I have written down everything I've ever been a part of. And that was helpful because I did a lot of tech and costume design, stage management, things like that. So I have everything that I've ever done on this big master list. So I have it on my computer, so I counted. And this is starting from when I was about 14, when I was starting high school. The number of roles I've had is 21. The number of productions I've been involved with in like any way, shape, or form. And actually sometimes I've had an acting role and tech in the same production, but just the number of productions I've been a part of is 45. Number 5, favorite acting role. A couple summers ago, I got to be in a production of Les Mis and I played Madame Thénardier, and that was just a blast. That was a role that I had been wanting to play at some point in my life. I didn't expect to play her at 21. I'm really glad I got the chance to. Favorite technical or design role? The Pajama Game. We did that show my junior year of college. I got to be the costume designer for that. With a crew of other designers that were helping me. It was a good collaborative effort with everyone involved. And so that one was probably my favorite. I had a really clear color palette idea throughout the whole piece, and that's kind of what made it fun for me. Dream roles. Madame Thénardier was actually one of them, so I'm so glad I've been able to do that. Ursula and Little Mermaid for sure. Mrs. Potts, Beauty and the Beast. Anything in Mary Poppins, but I think actually the bird woman who sings Feed the Birds, that would be great. I mean, I think it's just part of the ensemble, but I love that song. And Mrs. Lovett, Sweeney Todd. Most challenging production you've ever been a part of? When I was in high school, we did Little Shop of Horrors, and I got to help out and be one of the puppeteers. It was double cast, so sometimes I was in the plant during Feed Me Seymour, so I actually got to kind of act that song, I guess, as a plant. And that was kind of challenging because I'd never done anything like that before, and the piece was pretty heavy. It got exhausting towards the end of the song. I mean, I guess even though that was sort of challenging, I feel like I don't count it because it was just so much fun, and I was glad to be able to help out. Favorite costume you've ever worn? Madame Thénardier was one of them for sure. The second act, especially during the wedding scene, I had this crazy massive wig and like a hoop skirt and a lot of layers of dress. And then she falls on stage, like it's sort of a joke, like she's clumsy and she trips over herself, and my whole hoop skirt goes flying. And of course I'm still wearing this like massive wig. It's like, y'all can't even see. It's like, it's tall. Another one where I had a really cool crazy wig was in high school. I got to play Miss Flannery in Thoroughly Modern Millie. I had this huge red wig that was kind of tilted to the side and had pencils all in it. Number 10. Have you ever seen a show on Broadway? Yes. I'm going to try to do this quick. My first trip to New York, I was 16. I saw Rent. My second trip to New York, I was 18. We saw Memphis, Promises, Promises, Billy Elliot, next to normal. My third trip to New York, I was 21. Yeah. Newsies, once. Peter and the Starcatcher. I saw The Fantastics, but that was actually off Broadway, but Aaron Carter was in it and he hugged me and that was exciting. Have you ever seen a show on the West End? Yes, I got to go to London. I was 19 and I saw Billy Elliot again. Billy Elliot I've seen both on Broadway and the West End. I saw Les Mis, saw Blood Brothers, War Horse, Much Ado About Nothing on the West End, and it had David Tennant and Catherine Tate. I also saw a production of Much Ado About Nothing at the Globe. They were both produced very differently, and one was in the Globe and one was on the West End, so I totally didn't care that I was seeing the same show twice. I hope that was quick. Tips for anyone new to theater. Work really hard. I know sometimes it seems like it's not actually hard work because you're just up there and playing around. And that can be true. I think it's important to love what you do. Of course you're having fun or you wouldn't be doing it, but at the same time work really hard. Humility is important. I think a lot of times if you're on a stage and people are applauding for you, it's easy to kind of take that and run with it and kind of get a big head, but stay humble, work hard. Favorite song to sing for an audition? I have a few because I tried to gear my song choice towards the genre of show that I'm auditioning for, so I actually have a handful, but probably one of the songs that I sing most often is Let Me Sing and I'm Happy from White Christmas. And speaking of auditions, you should check out my What's in My Audition Bag video. I'll put a link to it here. That's called a shameless plug. Favorite film adaptation of a musical? I feel like you gotta go with Grease, right? I mean, it's a classic. I actually enjoyed Les Mis. I know a lot of people really didn't, but I think that if you try not to like nitpick all the different bits and pieces, if you look at the overall work, I think it was great. I also really liked Into the Woods, but Into the Woods is one of my favorite shows anyway, so they probably could have done anything to Into the Woods and I still would have liked it. Most overrated musical. I feel like I want to say Wicked, but I can't because it's so good. Biggest theater pet peeve. How do I phrase this delicately? Basically, anytime that people forget that theater is a collaborative art, if that makes sense. You know, like say if there's an actor who's, you know, being rude to stage crew or something. That's just an example, but like anytime people are trying to downplay each other's part in the show, I think it's important just to be able to work together as a team. And I mean, it's definitely not always easy. Sometimes there's compromises that have to be made and things like that, but I think that all of that should be navigated with respect, treat each other kindly, because this is how everyone is expressing their, you know, artistic point of view through this production. Whether you're a designer or an actor or a producer or a playwright or, you know, anything. Just be respectful of one another. A musical you're dying to see. I feel like I could always see Wicked again even though I've seen it. That probably doesn't count though. You know what, actually I would really love to see Matilda. I've heard good things about it and Matilda is by far one of my favorite movies when I was a kid. I know that the staged version is a little bit different, but I think it would be fun to see, so I would love to see Matilda at some point. Favorite musical of all time? Very few people who I've seen do this tag have been able to answer this question, and I understand why. I always have a handful of musicals that are my favorite in that moment, but it changes. But I feel like Into the Woods is always going to be in my top 5 no matter what. So, probably Into the Woods. Yeah. Okay, so that is it for the theater tag. Sometimes it's called the musical theater tag, but I think it's really the same thing. But thank you for watching, I appreciate it. I hope that you will give this video a thumbs up. Please be sure to subscribe if you have not already subscribed. Let me know if you want me to make a tutorial for how I did these letters. I'm really pleased with how they turned out, so I hope that you guys are interested in learning that. My social media and stuff is linked up below, and I think that's it. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye. On Saturday, I got to go to the Tampa Bay Comic-Con. Now, my dad is